What's up guys, my name is Your Heroes and welcome back to more Gates of Hell, and today we're going to be doing another how-to video. But first there's something I'd like to show you before we get into it. So a couple months ago, about 4 months ago, I put up a post saying I'm struggling with topics to cover for videos in Gates of Hell and Call to Arms. Do any of you have any suggestions on what videos I should do? There's this one guy named 27 who came up with a really good suggestion on a how-to video. He said best places to hit a tank on with a rocket, maybe different tanks, different tanks, different places. I think he said that wrong, but then he goes on to say maybe you know some tricks like double click lets you run units, which is true. The game doesn't tell you much. Like I saw someone saying you can double click on screen and units will then run towards it, but they can't shoot them, or F5 move and fight, explaining differences with just moving to somewhere. This here is really good, but I'm just going to be concentrating on the main one that I really want to cover today, which is best places to hit a tank with a rocket, maybe different tanks, different places. What I took with that is that I wanted to basically put that into action. And here we are, we have got an example of where to hit a tank. So with a rocket, and what he means is with an AT gun. So as you see, I've brought out a T-34, a regular T-34-76 and a T-34-85. The reason I'm showing these two tanks is because these will be most likely what you will face against the enemies. If you're playing against multiplayer or just the AI, these are the most likely vehicles that they'll bring out to try and decapitate you and kill you, which these tanks, I have to say, are pretty hard to kill because they're maneuverable, they have a high DPM, and they're actually really have decent armor. So today I'm going to be showing you where to hit the tanks and how useful the rockets are. So with the Russian ATs, by the way, I'm doing it in the late war, so it's more advanced. So with the late war, you have, when you bring out the AT guns or the AT guys, you have different places. You have the Panzerfaust, which is kind of a more better version of this Panzerfaust 60. Now as you can see they're a bit of a distance away, and that's because this thing has a max range of only 70, so be careful when you're using this that you're going to have to go less than 60 meters or 70 meters away, and with this you're going to have to actually be more up close and be actually less than 40 meters away. So, and this thing is a lot less accurate than the bigger Panzerfaust here, so be careful. So now that we've kind of got the AT out of the way, let's show you where we can hit those tanks. So with an AT gun like this, because the reason I'm showing you with the Russians is because they're using a Panzerfaust, which is actually German, and the German army do actually use these. So with a T-34, with this AT gun, you can actually shoot them directly in the hull. Now this is probably the most strongest part of the tank, because it's sloped and it's got the effective armor which will help it against possibly rockets, AT guns, you know, other tanks as well, which makes it harder to penetrate. But in this case, as you can see, there's like a wee green, circle which shows you that you can actually penetrate this tank anywhere with this. Same with the rocket. But the thing is, when you go further away to its max distance, about 70 meters, it just means that you're less accurate and you're actually less likely to kill it. But that is not true, because that only happens with AT guns. With rockets, it's a direct just hit. So if I'm, let's say, at the max distance away at 70 meters with this, we are going to go all the way back. You are going to actually find out that, you know, it's still able to penetrate, like so. And there you go, the T-34 is down. And especially with this thing, even though this is a less accurate thing, there you go, you can see that those two tanks have just been absolutely obliterated. They are completely done. You can actually just really hit them hard. But let's say you maybe you're maybe the AI, or you know, you're facing up against AI that are going to shoot their guns, and you want to get their rear or their side or rear. You can hit the rear, and that means it's most likely going to hit their ammo rack and blow off their turrets. Or you can aim for the rear of the tanks where it is most vulnerable, and therefore it could set a fire to the engine and therefore, you know, blow up and, you know, kill all the crew, setting them on fire. So to be honest, with tanks like these, you are most likely going to find it really easy to penetrate everyone in a tank. The front is the hardest because it doesn't completely blow up the tank. You're just probably just going to incapacitate it, therefore you're not completely disabling it. Although if you hit the rear side, there's a more likely chance of you blowing it up and completely disabling it and therefore not able to use it again. So that is the Russians. Now there is the German faction as well. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to show you how to take down the German tanks, and therefore if you are playing against the Germans, therefore you have the advantage of where the weak points are on that as well. So I'll see you in a second. Okay guys, welcome back. So we are now as the Germans. Now with the Germans it is a wee bit different, because as you can see that one tank has side skirtings and the other doesn't. Now when you go to the tanks, you can see that there are tanks are roughly the same. One kind of has a dirt gun, but one has skirting and one does not. So you're going to have to be really careful with the side skirtings, because the side skirtings can protect you from heat rounds, which are basically kind of protects it from any, you know, it's spaced armor. That is something you're going to have to be really careful of, as well. As you can see, it's kind of round the turret as well with that spaced armor, so heat is going to be quite a struggle to get through, because what it'll do is your first heat round will probably, you know, either absorb it or it'll take down this you know, the extra spaced armor, and then you'll be able to get through it. But even then it's going to be a struggle. Whereas this tank here, it is the Panzer 4G. There is no side armor, there's no protective side. That means that therefore it is more easier to penetrate. Now let me show you with the AT guns. So as you can see that they're exactly the same guns with the Germans, and as you can see that I'm roughly about 70 meters away, so I'm going to fire. Now with the Germans, that they have flat armor here, so you're actually probably easier going to be able to penetrate it, especially on a turret as well. It's all very flat, and maybe this kind of frontal part here is very kind of, if you aim here on the kind of the upper plate, that means it's going to be a hard time to penetrate. But if you aim for kind of the lower plate, the mid plate, or even the turret, you'll have a better chance. Especially, it's kind of same as the Russians, where it's stronger at the front, but if you aim for the sides, you could possibly get an ammo rack, and if you aim for the rear, you're most likely set a fire because of that giant fuel tank at the back. But we're going to take a pot shot from about 70 meters away, which is how the range of this kind of the Panzerfaust. So we're going to shoot it, and there we go. We've just dismantled it. The tracks have just been blown off, the crew are done, and even there you go, you can see that it is gone up in flames, and it's quite an explosion. The thing is, it's different, like I said, it's different from the Russians because the ammo rack is placed differently in the tank. So even if you do hit from the front, there is actually still a likely chance of you getting kind of an explosion like that. Now with the Panzerfaust 60, you will be able, with this you're actually going to need to aim at the front, even though it's kind of got the extra armor. As you can see, you're better hitting it in the mid plate as well, and or the rear. Do not try and aim for the sides because they'll be harder to get through, so aim for the front or the rear where it is most vulnerable. Let us put that to the test. In 3, 2, 1, and there you go. And you see what I mean by, as in, because this Panzerfaust 60 isn't the most accurate thing you'll see, it is most likely the tracks will absorb it, and you can see that extra armor does protect it even better. So just be wary of that. In this case, you are actually better using kind of the better AT gun here, which is the Panzerfaust here. And therefore, if we go a wee bit further back to where it originally was, we'll probably have a better chance of going through the armor. But like I said, because this is most likely a harder chance to penetrate it because there's more armor, there's not 100% guaranteed you'll blow it up. But let's see, in 3, 2, 1. well, there you go. You can see the absolute difference between that Panzerfaust 60 and the bigger gun. As you can see, it's completely just knocked out frontally from the front. That is it, guys. So that is how you deal with the Russian and German tanks in kind of the late war period with rockets. So guys, if you did enjoy that, then make sure you leave a like, and if you do want to see kind of more tutorials on kind of these particular things that the game doesn't tell you, then let me know what you'd like me to cover next. But other than that, guys, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching and our support, and I will see you in the next video. See you later and goodbye.